It is game day, and we are just a handful of hours away from the Packers hosting the Detroit Lions. This is the first time the Packers have opened up at home since Matt LaFleur has been the head coach of the Packers, and what a better game to do that than against the divisional reigning NFC North champs, Detroit Lions. I'm super pumped up about this game. This is a game in which the Packers are coming in as 2-point favorites, a different storyline than what we saw last season where the Packers hosted the Detroit Lions as underdogs. Now, some of you might be saying, well, that's because they just got Micah Parsons. That is why they're favored. But prior to the move, the Packers were favored against Detroit. Okay, so I'm going to give you my take on that. But first, I want you guys to leave your comments and let me know what you think the score will be. I think the Packers will be 28-21 victors in this matchup against the Detroit Lions. I'm super pumped up about this game. Okay, so the Packers just made a move prior to this game today. And what is that move? Well, they elevate Micah Robinson, their 7th-round draft pick, from the practice squad to the active roster against the Detroit Lions. Okay, so why did they do that? What was the purpose of that? Well, Nate Hobbs is still battling an injury, and Nate Hobbs is questionable. Now, he was limited at practice, so the Packers could see him out there. But Hobbs, who had surgery to repair a meniscus in his right knee. Now, this is a player that Brian Gutekunst went out and got in the offseason. I'm super pumped up about Nate Hobbs. I really am eager to see him out there on the field, active at a game. Now, he had surgery on his right knee August 2nd, and he began practicing for the first time September 4th. And then he was in full padded practice September 3rd. And then he took part in a limited fashion September 4th and 5th. Okay, so the Green Bay Packers now are looking at let's take a look at the depth chart for the Green Bay Packers, and then I want to give you my take as to why I feel the Packers are favored and why I feel the Packers have the upper hand with the Detroit Lions, not just this, for this game, but for this season. And when we start looking at the division, I'll give you my take on that. A big shout out and thanks to DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring this video. So I know we all have that player or team that we believe in and are completely hyped about. And with week 1 quickly approaching, literally, we're talking just days away. Take the opportunity to turn that sure bet into cash using DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers bet $5 and get $300 instantly in bonus bets and $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube or YouTube TV. I don't know about you, but I'm going to be taking advantage of this great opportunity. New customers bet $5, get $300 in bonus bets, get $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube or YouTube TV. Signing up using promo code ST Wisconsin. The next great touchdown is coming. You can certainly bet on it. With the Detroit Lions, not just this, for this game, but for this season. And when we start looking at the division, I'll give you my take on that. So the Green Bay Packers injury report prior to the game, Zane Anderson is questionable. That is his game status. Nate Hobbs, again, questionable. We talked about that. Elton Jenkins, he doesn't have a game status here, but I do know that he will be active for this game. Same thing with Jordan Love, who was a full participant in practice all week long. Micah Parsons is going to be out there playing from what I am hearing. He is listed as questionable, but it is going to be limited, his availability out on the field today. Jaden Reed, questionable. I have heard that he's going to be playing as well. Sorrell, questionable. Dontavian Wicks, questionable, and Savion Williams, questionable. This is a guy also, Savion Williams, that I really wanted to see out there for the Green Bay Packers. Okay, so let's talk for a moment about the Detroit Lions and why I feel the Packers are going to have the upper hand on them this season. When you take a look at this Detroit Lions roster, now we've talked about it before, losing your offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson. He leaves. He's the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Ben Johnson is going to be an absolute hit to this Lions offense, and for one reason that really nobody's talking about, because a lot of Lions fans around here are saying, it's Dan Campbell's offense. He's gonna nothing's gonna change. Everything's gonna remain the same. I disagree. I don't think that is going to be the case. I think it's going to take the Lions about a half of a year to recover from losing Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, then other coaches around them. But Ben Johnson is masterful about his spacing out there on offense. So uh, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the Lions can recover from his genius of spacing and how he spaced this offense out. That's again something that nobody's really talking about out there. But Ben Johnson and the Detroit Lions will, that departure is certainly going to be felt. But the major reason, and this is not just a half year thing, this is a full year thing for the Detroit Lions, why I think they're going to struggle comparatively to what they were last season. They've had one of the better offensive lines in the league. And, you look at over the last couple of years and you look at Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a pocket passer. He's not a mobile quarterback. He can't move. And he's not getting any younger. He's 31 years old. Now, that is not crazy old for a quarterback by any means, but losing your center in Frank Ragnow is huge. And then your replacement is Graham Glasgow, who was your right guard last year. And that is when he moves from guard to center, it doesn't translate that well. According to PFF, he's been familiar at center, but he doesn't do well at center. So it's going to be an interesting thing to watch as the year unfolds, how much pressure is allowed up the gut. I hope the Packers send a lot of pressure up the gut. And then you've got a new comer. It was their second round draft pick, Tate Ratledge. He is going to be their starting, I think, left or right guard, I believe it is Tate Ratledge for them. So they've got a newcomer and a rookie, and then they've got Graham Glasgow playing center. That's certainly going to be felt because this went from one of the better offensive lines, and when you lose a guy like Frank Ragnow, that's certainly going to be felt. Now you're going to lean heavily on a rookie. Okay, so another thing that nobody's really talking about heading into this season for the Green Bay Packers, there's a lot of haters on Jordan Love out there, but Jordan Love, his rookie year, his quote unquote rookie year as a starting quarterback looked incredible. Over that last 8-game stretch, there wasn't a hotter quarterback than Jordan Love. And then he had that knee injury heading into, against Philadelphia at the very end of the game. And then he was battling that knee injury throughout the season. And when he wasn't as mobile and he was favoring that knee, he wasn't the same quarterback. Okay, so Jordan Love, over his last 7 games last year, had 9 touchdowns and no interceptions. Okay, so he was being ripped apart by this dude that can't take care of the football. He's having way too many turnovers. But Jordan Love, again, over the last 7 games, 9 when you need it most, right at the end of the season and into the playoffs, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. He protected the ball. And again, I think this is going to be a very successful year for the Green Bay Packers. I think they're going to once again take dominance over the NFC North. They're going to be the champions, in my opinion. I want you guys to leave your comments. Let me know what you think the score of the game is going to be for today. But I'm super pumped up about this game. Again, just a handful of hours away. What an exciting game. Leave your comments, and as always, go Pack Go.